every now and then someone will comment on my YouTube channel asking me what website am I using in my videos to talk about the fights and to find information on the fights. And that website is Tapology. In my opinion, Tapology is the best tool to follow MMA, the best tool to follow almost any combat sport in the world. If I want to find information on something, I will go to Tapology. It is a fantastic website, and you can see it just here, Tapology, up in the top, tapology.com is the website that you want to go to. And once you get to this website here, you're kind of greeted with a lot of different things because you can do so many different things with Tapology. In fact, I could probably make a incredibly long video about Tapology with all of its features, but I'm just going to try and go over kind of everything that you can go over. Now, the main sort of way that I use Tapology personally is to just kind of use the UFC for the predictions and stuff like that. So what you can do here is just can go down there and find like the most major events going on here, and you click on that, and all of a sudden you've got the next UFC card, which is going to be UFC 289, and you can go from there and you can actually go to the promotion UFC, and here we've got every single confirmed upcoming UFC event on one website in one place. It is fantastic. You scroll down a little bit and you will eventually get to where we are in time at the time of me recording. It's the weekend or just the days before UFC 289. You can see on June 17th, next weekend, we've got this UFC Fight Night Vettori versus Cannonier. You can click and open that up, and now you're greeted with the whole card that we're going to be getting next week. It's going to be fantastic. And then maybe potentially you live, let's just say that you live in Salt Lake City, so you want to see what UFC 291 is looking like. So you open up the UFC 291 page, and you are greeted with every single fight that has been confirmed to be on this card. It's a great tool to navigate the UFC, but it's not only a great tool to navigate the UFC, it's a great tool to navigate everything. You go here, you can use it as a little bit of a news source and stuff like that, but Fightcenter is also a great tool that you can use. And as you can see here, I'm on the Fightcenter. I've got the promotion under any promotion. The schedule is just anything that's coming up. The sport is any sport coming up, and the region is just kind of anywhere. You can play around with these things, but this here is going to tell me every single upcoming combat sport event that will be coming up in the near future. So obviously coming up very soon is an MMA event, EFC 104 in South Africa. That's actually very good promotion. I would watch a lot more EFC, but they're like a pay-per-view only sort of service, so I don't really watch it live. But they've got a bunch of great fighters on there, but there's another event that I would have never ever known if I didn't go into this website is a boxing event taking place in France, and it looks like there is a pretty good prospect on the card. Now, that's actually just a great way to kind of find out what's going on, what's coming up. Maybe there's something going on in your area of the world. Maybe you wanted to know like what's going on just in general. You can really find a lot on the Fightcenter. But another fantastic way to find fighters is to go to the rankings, and this is actually one way that I actually find prospects. I do find prospects in many other different ways, but the Tapology Rankings is a fantastic tool to help you do that. And one way that you can find some of the best fighters in the world, or even some of the best local fighters that you didn't even know about, is just by using the rankings. You can go to the worldwide rankings, and you can see who are the best pound for pound fighters according to Tapology. I believe that this is community driven or contribution driven by moderators, and you can see their pound for pound list just like that. Or what you can do, which is kind of how I like to navigate Tapology, is find out who are the best fighters from a specific area of the world. So let's just pretend you're somebody that lives in we'll find somewhere random. Let's just say you're somebody that lives in Ontario. You live in Ontario, and you want to find out who are the best middleweight prospects in Ontario, and you can search it up. And all of a sudden, you get to find out who the best local fighters are for your area, listed in a Tapology ranking. It looks like some of the best fighters here are 3-1 opponent and a 4-1 opponent as well. And just like that, you've potentially actually found a bunch of really good prospects from Ontario. Another way that you can do it is, I know for a fact there's actually a couple of good prospects just out of Brazil that are flyweights. So you can just search the best Brazilian flyweights, in the world, and you are listed with this sort of list here. Obviously, sometimes you could make an argument that they might not be necessarily correct, like a 28-15 opponent fighter who has been on a 2-fight losing streak is now below Lucas Rocha, who is going to be on Dana White's Contender Series. Just a little fun fact for you guys. But now you're greeted with some really good fighters that you can look at, like 16-1, 17-4. Dana White's Contender Series alum Alejandro Kaitanov. If I'm not mistaken, he lost to Rinya Nakamura. He did. That's a fact. But yeah, you can find just some really good fighters just by kind of looking into this. I believe Davey Costa was rumored to be on the Contender. He's definitely not. I just lied to you guys, but that's one way you can use it. Another way is you can navigate their forums, but I don't really go through forums. It's not really something for me, but if you're a guy that likes this kind of scroll through forums, see what people are talking about and all that sort of thing, you can go ahead and do that. It's just a great tool to follow any MMA events as well. All of the most massive or the most important events are taking place are on here, so you can see, oh man, like what's this the next PFL event, what's the next LFA event, LFA 160. Let's just open that up and see what it is, and you can find out what it is, where it's going to be broadcast. It's going to be broadcast on UFC Fight Pass in the US. I can confirm that is also the case if you do live in New Zealand, but it's just a really good website to kind of take place and track all of the big MMA events, and also the big boxing events as well is a really good way to do it. Another way that you can use Tapology is you can predict the winners of these fights. I will use a more popular example, just a more popular event coming up for this event, but you can actually look here and you go to the fight, you can open up the individual fights, you can see the stats of all of the fighters that are going to be taking place, that are going to be fighting each other. And if you scroll down, you can see that 78% of the community, which is 2,000 people so far, are going to be predicting Amanda Nunes to win the fight. 47% of those people by decision, 35% of those by knockout. Now, 22% of people on Tapology are picking Irene Aldana, and they are picking her to win by knockout. Another way that you can also do that is a lot of people like to leave comments in the forums. You can read that, maybe get other people's opinions just by doing that. Now, another way that you can also kind of just navigate the fight, which I really like to do sometimes, well, all of the time, is you can see previous opponents. Now, let's just say here, you've got David Dvorak taking on Steve Erceg. David Dvorak, most people will know by now. He's a top 10 flyweight in the UFC. He's fought in the UFC a bunch of times, I believe 4 times. More than 4 times. I'm an idiot. But the point is, you can go to David Dvorak, and he's taking on Steve Erceg. Now, Steve Erceg is a lot more unknown to most people. Now, I live in New Zealand, and Steve Erceg's in Australia, so, like, you know, I'm pretty just familiar with him just because he's a local prospect. And on top of that as well, I'm pretty on top of all of the upcoming prospects in MMA in general. But David Dvorak, you can look at him, he's 3-2 in the UFC, so he had 4 fights, not 4. 5 fights, not 4. But you can see who he's fought. You just go through his whole career and find out that he's fought some pretty good guys. Now you go to Steve Erceg's record. Man, I've never heard of Steve Erceg before. Let's see what he's done in his career. You go through and you can find out that he's submitted a lot of people in the very first round. And it just kind of tells you, man, this guy's like really good on the ground, right? He's pretty dangerous on the ground, and he's fighting pretty good competition as well. You know, he's beaten 12-7 opponent earlier on in his career. 12-4, 2-0, 7-5, and 4-1. And then you can possibly go on to find out who these fighters are. Like who are they? You could watch their tape as well. You could open up the Eternal MMA event that this fight took place on, and you can see where it was broadcast. UFC Fight Pass. You load up UFC Fight Pass if you've got it. You find Eternal MMA, and you just skip straight to the main event. Steve Erceg versus Soichiro Hirai. And you can just rewatch the event and find out how good is Steve Erceg, you know? Like, that's one way that I really do look into fighters, to find their tape. I always find it just much easier for you guys. Just a little tip. If you're going to be researching Dana White's Contender Series coming up, it's a lot easier to search events rather than individual fighters. Now, let's just say for Chris Curtis, let's say Chris Curtis was making his debut early on in his career. It would be a lot easier to find, for example, coveted FC3 instead of Chris Curtis versus Tiawan Howard. You know, that's probably a bad example, but I always find it easier to find the events and then just skip through the events than actually finding individual fights, if that makes any sense at all. But that's kind of everything I've got to talk about with Tapology. As you guys can see, I don't actually have a Tapology account, which is kind of ironic, isn't it? But I don't know, I've just never really been too interested in like doing the Tapology predictions and stuff. And the reason why is because I'll just get addicted to doing it. Like, I would see all of the upcoming fights in the fight center, and I would give predictions for everything. Even if I knew nothing about the fighters, I would be predicting absolutely everything, and that is why I've kind of never really got into it, because I know that I'll just be uncontrollable. I'll just be picking absolutely everybody. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I think this is a really good website. I think it's a fantastic website and a really good website just to kind of find out what's going on in the future. Like, maybe you can find like a future favorite fighter. Like, you just see, like, I didn't know that this boxing event was going on if Tapology didn't have it, you know what I mean? You could see, wow, this guy's 4-0, he could be quite good, you know, or just stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can use Tapology. There really is, and there's a lot of ways that you can look kind of into things. You can get really kind of sucked into it, and can get like, man, like really like into like following things and finding out what's going on. And one event that actually didn't interest me was this one here, because this is their first event. This promotion's first event, so that's interesting. But yeah, you guys know what I mean. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Well, it's just the typical boxing card, isn't it, that I've just stumbled across. 5-0 versus 1-10. Seems like they're potentially making their debut. Boxing isn't that updated on Tapology, but 3-0 versus 1-16, 2-0 versus 0-4. This is a boxing card if I've ever seen one. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the website, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you like Tapology. Let me know what you thought of the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.